Yeah, this will do. Okay. I was thinking about it, and my favorite types of like Otome games are the ones where they blend the story and the romance perfectly, or as close to perfect as you can get. Because sometimes they can go too heavy on the story and too light on the romance, and you went into the game thinking you were going to get probably more romance than you thought, and then you get a bit disappointed. I'm one that likes the perfect blend where it's both. And you know, I'm kind of secretly sappy, so if it's mostly romance, that's fine too. Like, what was it, that free one I played, the one where you were like a fashion designer person who created dresses and stuff, and you actually created the dresses. I can't remember what it's called. Tailor Tales. Tailor Tales. That was mostly sappy, but I really enjoyed that. I really actually enjoyed that. What was the other one that I liked? No, I think it was just that one. I mean, there was another free one that I liked, but not as much as Tailor Tales. I think Tailor Tales did the romance very well, and that was like it was like a fixed thing, you know? So I'm looking forward to more of that, obviously. I don't know why I'm going up on a tangent right now, but bear with me, because I am getting to a point. Another one that I think did the story and romance really well was Amnesia. One that I felt was good still and beautiful, Hakuoki, but lacking in romance sometimes. To me, it felt a lot like they had a story in mind for that time period, and you know, it almost, I'm sure they had the romance in their head at first because, you know, that's so iconic. To do like a romance piece in that time, but it does feel like it's a bit pushed in, like a little bit pushed in. So, and I found myself not really getting bored, but a little bit bored of the historical side of it, because you just, at the end of it, you know everything, because it would constantly be reiterating like the same thing, but you couldn't skip past it because you were on another route. Anyway, yes. Well, I'm again getting to a point, and this is my point. Don't worry, I've only been ranting for like 2 minutes 45 seconds. It's fine. Unlike my usual 10 minutes. So this, I'm not sure what it's doing. I haven't felt the romance necessarily yet. Seren, maybe it's just his character, I don't know, we'll see as we go through the other characters, but Seren, he's either, like, I don't feel the romance. There's certainly something between them, but you can't be sure whether Seren is just blushing because he's, like, repressed emotionally, or if it's because he fancies your character. I just don't know. We'll see. We will see. My footsteps echo hollowly in the high vaulted arcs of the hallway. Ugh. Tonight, as many recent nights, combat training has caused me to lose track of the hours. It must be very close to the witching hour now, but for me, nothing stirs in the tomb-like passageway. Almost nothing. I stop. The faintest of noises emerges from one of the chambers lining the hallway. It makes my nape prick with uneasiness. I would ignore it, but it sounded very much like the rasp made by a thorn drawn out from its sheath. My heart turns ice cold. What should I do? Closing my eyes, I let out the fairest bit of wood magic, testing the surroundings, but I can't feel anybody's presence. Softly, I take the candlestick from its perch and, steeling myself for the worst, slip inside the chamber. The chamber is dark, unlighted by any lamps, and I let out a breath I did not know I was holding. Perhaps I really imagined it. My candle casts a dim glow over the table, the chairs and the floor, its bobbing light scarcely able to pierce the thick darkness of the night. Placing a candle carefully on the nearby table, I inch forward cautiously. My shoe bumps into something soft, which turns over. What? My breath catches in my throat. I bend down cautiously. Oh, this looks like oh yeah, it is. I didn't even read the text. I saw the hair and I was like, oh my god, Gabrielle. And it's like the lifeless eyes of Lady Gabrielle stare into mine. Her mouth is open and a crimson A rivulet runs from the corner of her mouth. Protruding out of her chest is a dagger stained dark with blood. Lady Gabrielle, the ambassador of Marin and one of her most respected peers, has been murdered in the palace of Eskia. This is a catastrophe. I have to alert the palace guards immediately. Before my body can move, however, I freeze as the thought strikes me. I had entered the chamber almost right after I heard the sound of the dagger being drawn out of its sheath. There are no windows and this chamber has only one door, but I have neither seen nor felt anyone go past me. No matter if they might be darkness affined, it is impossible for me to not have noticed anything. Aurelius is the one you're supposed to go through first. The guide says Aurelius, Serin, and then Nazir. So I'm confused, because if Aurelius did this, I don't know, man. That means whoever had killed Lady Gabrielle must still be here, lurking in the shadows, watching me, advancing upon me. Something swishes towards me out from the shadows. Forewarned, I twist out of the way and avoided the attack. Quickly, I put as much distance as I can between the murderer and myself. My candle splashes light on the face of Lady Gabrielle's escort. That young woman's face, so mild and unassuming in the day, has assumed a far more sinister aspect tonight. You! Sorry, just taking a drink. Her lips curl slowly into a little smirk. Damn it, I'm far too worn out from today's training to use my magic right now. Guards! Guards! I yell while at the same time lunging at the assassin, making as if to tackle her barehanded. The woman braces herself, prepared to receive my onrush and to counterattack. Cool, I'm not that rash. I swerve at the last moment to Lady Gabrielle's corpse, rolling it over and fumbling about in the dark about her back. Realization dawns upon the assassin. She starts forward, but it is too late. My fingers brush against the cold leather grip of a dagger hilt, and I swiftly pull it out of the weapon. I pull out the weapon buried in her back. Now I am armed, and the assassin, by the looks of it, is not. This is not a good thing. If you've called the guards and now you're holding the murder weapon, they're gonna think it was you. Or me. In this case, they're gonna think it was me. It wasn't me. Her gaze roves wildly around the room, clearly trying to find something that she can use as a weapon. Nothing here so far as I can see. And it seems, so far as she can see, empty-handed and unarmored, the assassin starts backing away from me. Confidently, I advance upon her, holding the dagger aloft. The distance between us closes. I dart in at the last few paces, eager to apprehend this woman alive. To my surprise, she stands her ground. Not just that, she seizes the chair beside her and swings it at me in a deadly arc. I skid to a halt just in time to avoid being smashed by the chair, but a couple of its legs graze my ribs, knocking the wind out of me. Ugh. The assassin rushes forward, the chair held high over her head. I stay still for as long as I dare to, then I spring aside at the very last instant when the chair is right about to smash onto my head. My risky gambit pays off. I dodge the blow, and the assassin's momentum carries her too far forward, making her lose her footing and stumble. The chair crashes harmlessly onto the table, breaking into half from the force of the blow, and probably making enough noise to wake half the palace from their beds. Perfect. Before she can recover her balance, I drive the knobbed hilt of the dagger into her temple. Why kill her? Oh no, the hilt. I'm an idiot. It's the sound effects when something like that is happening are so off. Every time. I haven't mentioned it until now, but every time it doesn't sound right. It's just a boom, not a you know what I mean? The force of the blow knocks her off her feet. The chair falls with a clatter. There's a tiny, tiny spider. How? Go on there. Oh my god, get off me. I'm really not interested in this spider. Okay, there we go. She struggles to remain standing by clinging onto the side of a table with one hand, the other raised feebly to ward off another blow. It is not difficult to brush aside her hand. I slam the hilt into her head again, this time with enough force to give her a concussion. Ooh, yikes. The assassin slides down limply onto the floor, knocked out cold. She put up a real fight. From the hallway, I hear the rattle of chainmail and heavy boots clattering on the stone floor. Pick up your feet, hurry! Garion's deep baritone sends a rush of relief through me. You're still holding the murder weapon. It's gonna be a misunderstanding. Here comes the palace guard, too late as usual to save the day, but they are friendly reinforcements at least, which I prefer wholeheartedly to the alternative. Carrion! In there! A hand grabs my wrist and something hauls itself onto my shoulder. What? I turn around, too late. In my moment of distraction, the assassin used the last of her strength to impale herself on my dagger. A quiet groan of pain escapes her gritted teeth. Horrified, I try to shake her off, but for a dying woman, her grip is surprisingly strong. Inch by inch, she forces herself to press against me, driving the dagger even deeper into her stomach. What in the world? Oh no. Garion and the palace guards storm into the room. They stare, stunned and incredulous at the horror before them. An ambassador lying in a pool of her own blood, her escort dying upon the dagger held in the hands of who but for their own royal tutor. Her eyes light rapidly fading, fixed on Garion. Her lips, I can see it, soundlessly mouthing a word. Murderer. With the last of her fading strength, the assassin thrusts a finger up to my face. Then she tumbles down, her lifeless body crashing onto the broken chair. Lady Rosencruz, this is... A ring of palace guards surrounds me. They believe to know what this is supposed to be. Garion, this isn't what it looks like. Garion nods slowly, as if he is thinking over what I had said very carefully. A few of the palace guards look at the lifeless bodies, then to me, as if not wanting to believe this either. However, not all of them. One of the guards speaks up. Hagen? If this is you, I'm gonna press enter. Okay, good. And what, may I ask, does this look like? Momentarily at a loss for words, I look around. This looks, not to put too fine a point on it, extremely incriminating. It looks like I murdered Lady Gabrielle and her escort. Yes, I mean no, it's because my mind churns from trying to figure out how to sum up the story as short as possible. However, the long day of training had already left me exhausted from before the whole struggle with the assassin. I find my mind coming up empty. More and more people are streaming the hallways, servants and staff awakened by the commotion. I even spot some confused members of the garrison. Hushed whispers spread from one end of the room to the other, and back again, spreading rumors in a grotesque pantomime of a court. Murder. More assassins. The ambassador, Lady Gabrielle. Royal tutor, caught red-handed. Lady Rosencruz, please come with us for now. Garion, just let me explain. Murderer! A panicked voice shouted at the back of the hallway. That voice. The awful word stirs the terrified crowd into a frenzy. Murderer, murderer, murderer! What fucking achievement did I just get? Another onlooker takes up the cry, and after him, yet another. The members of the garrison pale visibly. Some look as if they wanted to speak up, if only on behalf of another member of the High Council. However, I know it is useless to say anything. I cannot make myself heard above the uproar, and the crowd will simply shout me down if I try. Garion, having the same thoughts, gives me a stern look, as if pleading, don't let this commotion grow any further. Sadly, I have to agree with him that the commotion won't turn in my favor. Valkii Rosencruz, you are now formally under arrest. Come with us. Where to? The dungeon. I gulp. Oh, come on. This is such a good chance for Saren to come all worried and, worried for me. Come on, please. Only for tonight. I will report this incident to the Lord Regent, and he will no doubt wish to interrogate you at the earliest instance. Very well. I have no wish to fight. Though the arrest is unjust, struggling against it can only serve to make everyone even more assured of my guilt. For now, the best course of action is to submit and let things take their course. 2 palace guards approach cautiously to seize my arm. I offer them no resistance, and a look of relief flickers across Garion's face. Guards, bring the royal tutor to the dungeon. I shall advise the Lord Regent of what has transpired here personally. He gives me one last look, his face unreadable. Lady Rosencruz, you have my promise I shall see to it that justice is served. You have my gratitude, Lord Marshal. Head high and refusing to be intimidated by the muttering mob, I let the guards lead me out of the room to the direction of the dungeon. The sound of iron key rattling outside the cell jerks me out of a light and unrestful sleep. Thank you, Captain. You may leave us. The metal screams as the cell door swings upon its rusty hinges. A grim-faced Lord Regent strides into the cell, followed behind by, my heart leaps and starts racing, Saren. Saren catches my eyes and offers me a comforting smile. God damn it! Seren, you're letting me down. Where's my worry? Where's my true worry? Where's the, oh my god, Valkii, are you okay? Oh my goodness. I can't let this happen to you. Come on. Seren catches my eyes and offers me a comforting smile, but even he cannot disguise the worry written plainly across his face. Good evening, my Lord Regent, Your Highness. I look up Riley from the hard wooden plank that serves as my bed. That's something you've gotten yourself into, young Rosencruz. What have you to say for yourself? It wasn't me. Of course it wasn't you, but who is going to believe that? Not the Marinians, I suppose. Least of all the Marinians, who will demand blood and nothing less than blood as payment for their dead ambassador. My blood? Your blood and the blood of half of Eskia. Lady Gabrielle was beloved by her peers, and not even the Moranian king himself will be able to ward off the war against us if we cannot deliver them justice. Even if she was murdered on Eskian ground, I am still a member of the High Council. The Council is independent, neutral, and isn't submitted to the Crown. Even if the Moranians manage to frame me, Eskia should be safe. The Lord Regent heaves a weary sigh. That is the theory, yes, however. Rumours have it that you, the royal tutor, are enamored with Seren. Not wrong. I beg your pardon? According to the rumours, you're enamored with Seren while Aurelius is courting Lady Gabrielle. A union between the latter two would endanger Seren's position as the next king. To help your lover, you murdered Lady Gabrielle. That's just baseless gossip, isn't it? It is, although many society ladies confirmed you spoke for Seren and against Aurelius during a tea party. Fudge. That's ridiculous. How could my statements get distorted and misinterpreted by so much? However, baseless as the rumours are, they still give the Moranians a way to tie us to you and Lady Gabrielle's death. Something the capricious Moranian nobility can latch onto, you mean to say? Yes, to frame us and prey upon our lands. Who was it, Valkii? Her escort murdered her. We believe you, but the Moranians will not. Do you have evidence? The prince is right. We must present irrefutable evidence that a member of Gabrielle's own entourage is her killer. Otherwise, I do not see how we can avert war. Are things as bad as that already? They are worse. Well, I have no evidence. I can only give you my word. Lady Gabrielle's escort killed her in cold blood. I tried to apprehend her. But in our struggle, she threw herself on the dagger I was holding and framed me before the guards and the servants before she died. I suppose Gabrielle's escort looks to be the key to solving this mystery. That settles it. We will call a palace-wide investigation into the identity and background of the late ambassador's escort. With luck, we may discover some clues that leads to your vindication. I am grateful to have your support, my lord, and yours, Seren. You can always depend on me, Valkii. I am sorry for, once again, not being able to keep you safe. The Lord Regent furrows his brows. As for me, young Rosencruz, you can always rely upon my friendship and goodwill. But my influence stretches only so far, and it does not stretch nearly far enough to forestall Moranian vengeance. If I may raise a suggestion. Always. We should also look into the affairs of the nobility in the capital. Some of them, especially the Marcher Lords, may stand to gain from a conflict with Marin. Others are cadet branches of dynasties that own land both in Eskia and in Marin. They too may have connections with Marin worth prying into. A good thought, young Rosencruz. The nobles shall not escape scrutiny. Thank you, my lord. Have you any particular noble families in your mind when you made that suggestion? I hesitate. Making an unfounded accusation against an aristocrat is never something to be undertaken lightly. Nevertheless, my suspicions have been much too aroused by that voice I had heard in the room. I admit, I am uneasy about the good faith of House Ouds. Ishbel, no! You whore! House Ouds. Their recent activities could be worth investigating. However, why them? They've always served us very well. Of course, and I don't mean to imply otherwise. However, back then, in the room, the one who started the commotion without leaving me any leeway to explain might have been Lady Ishbel. I stare resolutely at the ground, unable to meet Nazir's eyes. Nazir isn't in the room. Are you dumb? When we first met her, her speech carried an accent of southern Marin. She hasn't been using it for a while now, yet the voice who called me murderer tonight sounded like her. Additionally, she was the one to invite me to that tea party, and also the one who asked that incriminating question of who the next king should be. An uncomfortable silence haunts the cell. Very well, we shall look into it. Do I still have the save? I do still have the save, so if I chose to, I could go back and do that. Seren sighs ruefully. It takes no genius to figure out what he's worried about. You are not to blame, Your Highness. It was my heedlessness. Our enemies are becoming more devious all the time. I do wonder why every time you're in trouble, you'd still be the one trying to cheer me up, Valkii. Are you not the same? I lean forward and grin. You always worry about others before yourself. That's the reason I cannot help but care. Silently, Seren takes my hand and gives it a gentle squeeze. Now, if there is nothing else... The Lord Regent gets up, followed by Seren, making ready to leave. One more thing, my lord. The Lord Regent turns around once more, an eyebrow raised. What is it? I hope I am not going out of line, but do you suppose the palace servants can be of use to us investigating the nobility? The servants? Why, certainly, they're everywhere and they overhear everything, but will they help us? Perhaps, if you could put the word to Marigold that I am in peril and desperately need her help? For the first time in our meeting, a broad smile spreads over the Regent's face. Marigold? That is a great idea. She is well liked by her co-workers. Additionally, when it comes to investigating the relationships between noble houses, I believe Lady Ceridwen can be of aid. Nobody should know about their undertakings better than she does. Of course, House Nathaira should have ears and eyes everywhere. It seems like you've made great friends in this kingdom. Now, if that's settled, the Lord Regent stands up once again. Take care, my lord. I must not keep you any longer. Yes, there is a lot for us to do. The Lord Regent stretches out and clasps my hands in a firm handshake. Take care, young Rosencruz. And they are gone, leaving me alone in the dark and draughty cell. The prison door slams shut behind them. Key rattles on chain. My heart sinks at the dull thud of iron bar sliding into its lock. Looks like this is it. There is nothing I can do but wait, and waiting as ever is the hardest part. I close my eyes and let my head sink into my hands. The new Moranian ambassador makes his grand entrance into Fostrox. The contrast with Lady Gabrielle is hard to overstate. Lordly and haughty, the ambassador sits clad in shining plate armor astride a war steed quite as tall as himself. Behind him rides his personal bannerman, bedecked in a colourful court dress, holding aloft a standard proclaiming his master's heraldry. Lions, eagles, griffins, and legendary beasts run rampant upon the quarterings of the heraldic banner, which flutters imposingly over the heads of the awestruck Eskian crowds lining the street. Behind them troop a full 24 guards of honor, armed and armored to the teeth. The message this spectacle is meant to impress upon onlookers is plain to read. Give us what we want, or we are prepared to go to war. And what they want is me. I look to the right and to the left at the 2 guards holding me in place by my arms. Though both look frightened, they present a defiant front to the approaching ambassador and his guard. Their attitude is written plainly on their faces. They will not yield me without a fight. The ambassador reins in his mount just beyond the gate of the outer palace. His face is a carefully composed mask of fury. He raises his right arm, straight as the lance by his side, and points an outstretched finger right at me. To the reprobate Valkii Rosencruz. He has an arresting voice, deep and rolling, that carries well, booming over the hushed murmurs of the watching crowds. I accuse you of murdering Lady Gabrielle and demand you be handed over to the justice of Marin. Puzzled muttering sweeps through the crowd, but the ambassador's words, as far as I can tell, excited no clear expression of anger. Very well. The words come from the top of the Palatine stairway above and behind my back. The captain of the garrison struts down the steps, running his supercilious gaze over me, the guards, the commoners, and even the Moranians. Good. I am happy the friendship between our great... Letter, please. Eh? With the unself-conscious arrogance of the aristocracy, the garrison captain rudely interrupts the ambassador with an outstretched hand. He enunciates each word loudly and slowly to make sure they carry to everyone on the scene. Letter of extradition. I don't understand what you mean. For the arrest of a member of the High Council, she is in our custody. Just so, and we demand. We are empowered to surrender her to only representatives of the Council or someone with a letter of extradition signed by representatives of the Council. Are you in the High Council? The ambassador is so taken aback he actually replies, no. Letter, please. We don't have one. Then please get one. I don't know what game you are playing, but I warn you, my peers and I condemn this. I do not care. You need a letter or a council representative, or else we cannot surrender a council member to you. We don't want to upset the High Council, do you? The ambassador checks his words. I suppress a grin. That is true. Members of the High Council do have certain privileges and immunities attached to their station. As a junior and probationary member, I am not personally entitled to those rights as yet, but there is no need for the ambassador to know that. Marin and the High Council has always kept a mutually beneficial relationship, which is to say they are as afraid of doing something that will make the Council angry as any other nation. Then you surely have no trouble obtaining a letter of extradition from them. But negotiations with the Council alone will take at least a week. Best start early then, Your Excellency. With a curt bow, the captain swivels around and walks back to the palace, leaving the ambassador fuming beneath. Somehow, just before he leaves, he catches my eyes for the barest, briefest instant. One of his eyelids flutters ever so slightly in a conspiratorial wink. Looks like I am out of any immediate danger, at least. I allow a sigh of relief to escape my lips as the two guards lead me back into the palace. Raphael meets me while I am taken on the way back to my cell. He waves the guards off and walks with me the remainder of the way. Any progress? I was a hair's breadth away from being executed in a Moranian kangaroo court back there. I know, I was watching. At least you're safe for the moment. For a week. Can you finish investigation in a week? We hope so. The Lord Regent, the Lord Marshal, and their Highnesses have been busy investigating the nobles. They've put together a list of nobility with suspicious connections to Marin. And how many are there? Enough to keep everyone busy. Harris, Sala, and I will help out with the investigation. What about the merchants? The merchants? Most of the ties between Eskia and Marin are commercial. Members of the nobility are, of course, everywhere prohibited from engaging in commercial activities. You're right. If they want to trade, they must do it through merchant intermediaries. Who will know more about the nobility's shady financial and business affairs than the stewards of their own houses? Have you spoken to Viola about the investigation? She is well connected and well travelled. Perhaps she might know something. Perhaps she might even be willing to share it. I will be sure to bring your idea to the Lord Regent. Please do so. I am counting on all of you. We have arrived before my cell. The guard in charge unlocks the door and motions me to step inside. Farewell, Lady Rosencruz. Have some courage. Thank you, Raphael. Farewell. With a sinking heart, I wave goodbye to Raphael as the heavy iron door slams in my face, enclosing me once more in solitude. This way, my lady. Torchlight floods into the dungeon cell which I had begun to think of as home. What? The trial for the assassination of the late Lady Gabrielle. The puffed-up figure of my old acquaintance, Hagen, leans silhouetted against the open prison door. I had expected more supercilious sarcasm from him, but he is polite, almost diffident in manner and speech. It's time already. Yes, I see. Lead the way, please. He leads me, keeping a close but courteous watch, through the long rows of guttering torches in the dungeon and up into the winding corridors of the palace. Where are we heading? To the throne room. The Court of Parliament is arranged there. Arraigned there to hear your case in the absence of a king. Parliament? Yes, everyone's waiting. Here we are. Palace guards, turned out in their finest livery and armour, are standing stiffly at attention. Hagen hands me to the 4 guardsmen in full plate armour who take over and march me into the cavernous throne room. More than half dazed from being locked up in the dungeon for 2 weeks, I am not in the least prepared for the sight that greets me. I expected an impromptu assembly of Eskian notables, but this looks like an actual parliament, assembled and empowered to deliberate over an important case in place of their king. To the right are the nobles forming the upper house. I see familiar faces amongst them, Lady Ceridwen frowning but composed, Lady Ishbel, distressed and hurt there should be evil people doing evil deeds in this world. Facing them is the lower house, representatives from the palace staff, from the merchants and shopkeepers in Frostrox, even some village aldermen from the surrounding districts. My eyes fall on Marigold, lips pursed, arms crossed, forefinger tapping calculatingly on a sleeve. On the dais is the empty throne. One step lower to the right stands the Lord Regent, presiding over the convocation on behalf of His Absent Majesty. Left of him is the Moranian ambassador, still looking fearsome, but at least somewhat placated at such a grand spectacle has been arranged for him. Yet one step below them sit the princes. To be precise, 2 princes. Seren and Aurelius stand dignified as statues, back straight, chin tilted slightly upward, hands lightly at rest on the arms of the chair, right foot front and forward of the left. They look every inch their status, gracing the highest court of the land. Nazir, however, is nowhere to be found. I catch Seren's eyes. Reading my thoughts, he moves his head ever so faintly in a barely perceptible shake. The Lord Regent steps forward, interrupting my chain of thoughts, and we will be back in the next video. Bye!